Welcome, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to the Entrepreneurs Hideout. Little twist in the word. Trickster's Hideout's where we're at today. We're entrepreneurs, and we're hiding out here in this cool-ass stage. I told myself I wouldn't swear. I've already messed up. I'm Alan Edwards. I am your host for tonight, and I am excited to have you here, whether you're joining us live. Thanks, guys. Applause. Awesome. Whether you're joining us online on our YouTube channels or catching the replay later. This is where entrepreneurs come to share their journeys, tackle challenges, and collaborate on solutions. This is going to be a very interactive session. And tonight, we have an interactive guest, an incredible interactive guest, and an even more incredible audience, you guys. Yeah, she knows. So let's dive in. So please join me in welcoming our guest entrepreneur for tonight, Liesl Peterson of Liesl Design, Paint and Mural, as well as one of the owners of Trickster's Hideout, the beautiful venue where we're sitting today. Welcome, Liesl.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's start with the simple stuff about your business. The worst question you get at any business meeting. Your elevator pitch and go.
My name is Liesl. I am a muralist. I get to color on the walls for my job. I have almost 30 years of experience in the construction painting industry. I know I don't look that old. I am fast and cost effective at what I do. I can do anything from construction painting all the way to fine finishing, faux finishing, and mural design, concept, and execution. I have a website. It's liesl.ca, L-I-E-S-L, and my social media handle is Painter Liesl. So find me, look me up, look at my pictures.
Very cool. So how many agreed that she got the pitch out during the elevator ride? Yeah? All right. Very good. I think you did a great job. Thank you.
Phew.
Now, let's start off with a fun question, all right? What's the most insane thing a client has ever told you?
The house is on fire.
All right, you have to elaborate now.
I was painting a house in Whistler in Spruce Grove Circle. I have to specify the house because I've actually painted more than one house that had references to fire. I learned that day that there are different gauges of extension cords, and a 16 gauge extension cord should not be plugged into a paint sprayer that draws over 12 amps. I'm not an electrician. I learned this. I started a small fire that just turned into a black spot on the subfloor, thank goodness. But, the ironic thing about this particular story is that that house was an insurance rebuild because it had burnt down.
I think what's a great lesson to even hear from that is we all make mistakes.
Oops.
Right? Things happen. It's how we deal with them that matters, and the fact that you rectify the situation. I'm sure you painted the black spot.
Well, they floored over it, but still, it's not a funny joke for somebody whose house just burned down.
Yeah, but we get stronger. All right, great introduction. Good job. So we're going to take a short break to hear from a sponsor, and when we return, we're going to dive into how we can help Liesl. Welcome back. Let's do this. Liesl, let's get to it. Tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. How did you start, and what's been the most surprising part of the ride so far?
Okay. It definitely was born out of necessity. I previously was employed and did not know any differently. I married young, was divorced young, had a kid young, and so I found myself as a single mother, brand new to British Columbia in 2011. Didn't have any support network here, and found that my daughter was not thriving in daycare, and I had to figure out something I could do to free up my time so that I could be available as a parent, as well as provide for her. So I made a couple of choices that wound up being beneficial to me. First one was I moved into an Airstream trailer, which made my rent super cheap, and it was a really edgy lifestyle at the time. We were in lots of magazines and TV features, but it was cool, and we made it work. And the other one was that I started my own business. I had no idea what I was doing, but I quickly learned, and in hindsight, have a lot of insight into this, that I did better as an entrepreneur because, unbeknownst to me at the time, I had ADHD, and it made working for other people very difficult, and I did not understand the freedom that could come with working for myself until I experienced it. So I feel like I just eventually caught my stride, and I met some cool people. I think having the tiny home helped me have a face in the community, so people knew who I was and they wanted to support me, and this community has been really good to me.
Very good to hear.
Yeah.
So every entrepreneur faces hurdles, anywhere from starting fires and recently burned down houses, to failures and setbacks and lawsuits and trips and self-confidence, all sorts of issues we face. Can you give us one challenge that you're currently facing that we can dig into as a group today?
As Squamish grows, I'm scared of / I struggle with marketing myself to people as a painter. I don't feel like I'm good at sales and marketing.
Yet you built a successful business. So what's changed?
The town was smaller. I feel like I used to walk down Cleveland Ave, and I used to know and say hi to literally every shop worker. And now I walk down the street and I'm lucky to run into one or two people I know. So something's different. The population has probably almost tripled since then. And I don't know if it's just my confidence that's tripping me up, or if I'm lacking some tools or what, but I don't quite understand the concept of marketing.
This would be an easy survey from the audience here. Raise your hand if you also could use help in marketing.
Yes.
Yeah, I find that's...
I'm not alone.
You're not alone. This is the big one, and I see it every day. Now, for those who don't know, Liesel's also my wife. We live together. So I have some inside intel.
Sorry, ladies, he's taken.
Most days. Sometimes she's like, go. So I know a little something extra. I don't have to ask this question. I'm just going to jump into it and give you an example. So when you're having a slow day in between jobs, you're like, oh, what am I going to do for work? What do I tell you to do?
Oh, you tell me to put on my painty coat and go to the coffee shop.
Nice.
This is my painty coat, everybody. This is a celebrity coat. It is more famous than I am. And yes, the coffee shop.
All right, so it's a form of branding.
I suppose, yeah.
And how effective is it when you go order a cup of coffee instead of a coffee shop?
I could stretch to say that it feels 75% effective to not necessarily getting jobs on that day, but definitely to generating leads and reminding people that I paint.
Wow, so that works. Now, you guys, you can't just go to a coffee shop and business is going to fall on your lap. Liesel has done some groundwork to get there, right? You've met people, you've networked, you've schmoozed, and the fact is they already know, like, and trust are the three things you have to make a sale. And what she's adding is that fourth component is she's being seen, right? And that really is part of what marketing is about, is being seen. So going to the coffee shop where your clients hang out because you serve the local market.
So you're saying my outrageous fashion sense helps me market my business.
Yes, it helps you market your business.
How convenient.
It worked out well for you, and you found that naturally. So certainly keep doing that, but obviously something is changing as the demographic grows, as people maybe in Squamish get a little more standoffish in line at the grocery store, at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Maybe you're so used to being so popular that you aren't trying as hard. Could happen. I think the same thing happens to me.
Do you even know who I am?
Do you even know? Do you even know?
Do you even know who I think I am?
So, and that's a great avenue, and I'm glad you shared that. I think it's going to help a lot of people, I feel.
Cool.
What I would like to share is I like the concept of getting a lot of marketing leads, and I like to make it a marketing superhighway. And highways have lanes that cause the people to go from point A to point B, and I need to create lanes. Building highways is not cheap, and since we're not actually building roads, marketing lanes we can build one at a time. So build one lane, and that one lane's going to be a project. As a matter of fact, this talk show was a project. I wrote the idea down several months ago, and then finally mid-December I was like, oh yeah, it's time. We're going to do this. And next thing you know, I was accidentally investing 40 hours in this project to come to today. However, 40 hours of effort building the lane. And I have to add that I'm an owner of Trickster's Hideout. I own EPI Consulting, doing business consulting like this. And I'm partners with Sarah at MSP Hire for IT recruiting. I'm responsible for the marketing content for all of those. And I was like, I do not want to do this 3 times or 3 different outfits and 3 different brands, right? So I was like, oh, this talk show, live from Trickster's Hideout, showing off the venue. Consulting advice, showing off EPI Consulting, sponsored by MSP Hire, who this is the type of content her clients also consume because her clients are entrepreneurs. And what a win. But I spent 40 hours building the road, and now my calculation is it should take me 4 hours a month to keep producing the content, which means I have time to build the second lane, right? So I spent 40 hours building a group consulting program. I spent 40 hours building a business planning workshop. and all those things don't take me very long to do once I got past that project. I might have cried a little bit to these 2 recently. Some of you know as well about the workshop. It took forever. But I finished it Wednesday, by the way.
Nice.
It's live.
I spent 40 hours building a tiki room. I don't know how that helps my business. Well, it helps this business, but I don't know.
Well,
We'll
I mean, you've been posting about it on your socials.
Sure. It's the
your
one
designs.
mural I got to paint without having to design consult somebody else. So that's what happens when you lock me in a room.
if there's not scratch marks on the other side of the door. So I guess the question for you, and this is going to take some commitment, is what marketing lane can you commit to building over the next weeks and months that becomes easy to maintain once it's built?
I mean, because Instagram is such a draw for my business, aesthetically, people need to see what I do before they want to hire me to do it. So I would say content creation. Content creation. Which I suck at, because people are like, oh, you should do a time-lapse video of you painting that mural. And I'm like, that's a great idea. And then as I'm finishing it, I'll be like, I could have done a time-lapse video. All you get's the finished product.
And if I remind her, I'm either a genius or I'm nagging her.
Yeah.
So take notes, guys. You're going to have a turn after the next break we have to weigh in on this, give her some advice, ask some more questions. And some of her ideas might be good for you as well, because I'm interested to hear what you think about ways to not forget to time lapse.
Ways to not forget. Well, is this my homework?
Maybe.
Shoot.
Because look at this, you know what to do already.
I do.
It's remembering to do it. So creating some sort of system that works with your brain, like. She and I are polar opposites.
I like how you said your brain.
Yes. I'm a very linear thinker. Like, if you want me to do C, I got to do A, and I'm going to do B, and then I'm going to do C. If you want her to do C, she's going to do A, she's going to do G, she's going to do Z, and she might even get to C before I do. But I can't follow it. I don't know what's going on. So I try to back off and wait for the result.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that could be good homework, to find that system to remind you. I remember when I stopped biting my nails many moons ago. I did the rubber band system. I put a rubber band on my wrist, and I snapped it whenever I misbehaved, forgot, whatever. But it was also there as a reminder that, oh, what's this for? Ooh, time lapse.
Or 3 weeks later, I'll be like, why am I wearing this?
We got to find that system that works for you. Ted Lasso style note above your office door.
There you go. Something like that. Or like, I don't know, phone alarms, which I hate with a flaming, fiery passion.
What's this alarm for? Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing your guys' responses next. All right, so we're going to take that short break now to hear from our sponsor. And when we return, we're going to let you guys, whether you're online or here live, offer advice to our guests or ask follow-up questions or share stories that you guys are like. So that's fine too. So that work for you guys? Yeah. All right. See you in a moment. Running a business can feel isolating, but it doesn't have to be. Meet Alan Edwards at EPI Consulting, a trusted partner who's been where you are and knows what it takes to succeed. With years of experience starting, scaling, buying, and selling businesses, Alan brings proven strategies and genuine care to every client. Whether you're looking to grow, solve tough challenges, or reclaim balance in your life, Alan and EPI Consulting are here to guide you. Together, we'll build the business and the life you've always envisioned. EPI Consulting. Let's make it epic together. All right, welcome back. Today's producer is Lonnie, and she will be helping us with this next section. Everyone say hello to Lonnie.
Hi, Lonnie.
Oh, did you get a shot on that too? Awesome. Okay, now that you've met Lonnie, it's your turn, audience. Let's collaborate. What questions, ideas, or insights do you have for Liesl? Our live audience, you guys can walk up to the mic, get in line, raise your hand, whatever you want to do. We have a microphone set up live for you. Ask your question. We'll have a conversation. And if you're watching on the live stream online, put it in the comments, and Lonnie will read it out loud to us to discuss as well. And you can even add more quips and comments after that. So what questions do we have? Sarah, step on up.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
Maybe the price is
Hello.
right.
The price is right. Well, first I want to say that going to the coffee shop wearing your jacket, working 75% as a marketing technique is like, I can't think of anything I've ever done that's worked 75% of the time. So that is, you should definitely follow that advice and do that more. My question for you is, what is the most common objection you receive from clients when you can see that they're excited to maybe do a project with you, but there's something standing in their way? I'm wondering if you could like twist that into something that could help you market.
Great question, Sarah.
I do feel like I have a lot of, it's usually parents of children who want their room painted, who have some aversion to murals because they think that they can't be painted over. And one of the things that I love to try to break through to people is that murals are not permanent. And I have clients who hire me every 2 years to paint over it with something else. And that you don't have to feel guilty. It's not something you need to keep forever. It's not something that you should like forever. And I've had quite a few people who I think have tolerated a mural that they didn't quite love. And I've had people who felt so guilty telling me that they were listing their house and the realtor told them to paint over it. And I want people to just dispense with the guilt. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be creative. It's supposed to be fluid, and it's not supposed to last forever.
I mean, she is stoked to paint a mural and then paint over it for selling it, and then to give her card to the buying person to then paint the mural back on the wall. I mean, it's
Hey,
a great business model.
if I get paid twice or 3 times, that's fine with me.
I think there's also a misconception related to this question of cost.
Yes.
They see it as fine art, and it's amazing art, but you have a style and a technique that allows you to work very fast, so you're in and out of the business quickly.
Yep.
Business or house. I'm so used to business clients. Which also means it's less expensive to paint over and do it twice.
Yeah, people don't quite understand. The reason I dabble mostly in the solid field gradient style murals is that they are almost as fast for me to paint as the room would be a different color. Like I could paint the room white in the same amount of time as I could paint a mural on the wall. And so they're often shocked when they come back 4 hours later and I'm almost done. yeah.
Excellent. I'm curious if anybody has some pointers on her remembering. This is maybe more of a marriage counseling, actually. Does anybody want to give us some ideas? Could you grab the mic, Gina? Thank
Ooh.
you.
Hello. Well, I find usually when you have an aversion to something, it's more meaningful when you actually commit to that aversion. So my question is it possible to find some kind of ringtone, maybe titled time lapse, that you can wake up to every day?
What if
And
the
that would be your-
ringtone said the word
Right.
time lapse out loud?
I like this idea because I often think about the time lapse, like in the morning when I'm having breakfast. Oh yeah, I should do a time lapse. And that would be the perfect time for me to set the alarm. I like the idea of coming up with a cool ringtone, make it less annoying.
Mine used to be like my wake up call was Chop Suey. Do you know that song?
Wake up!
Sing it
Yeah.
for us.
Wake up!
I'm not
that
gonna
one.
sing it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Just some,
Okay,
kind, of,
so-
some kind of ringtone that's like
Amazing.
time lapse.
Yeah. Okay, I can get behind this.
Maybe related to that, if your calendar appointments show up, you could set like, oh, I'm doing this gig tomorrow for painting. Let me set a calendar appointment at the same time that says set up time lapse.
Yeah.
Or maybe both, because
For
you
10
have to,
minutes
you have
after
to
I
remember
get
to grab
there.
the camera.
Yes.
And
that
hopefully
too.
your husband's not using it at Trickster's for a live show.
Yeah. Yeah, because usually what has to happen is I have to stop listening to my music to set up the time lapse. And compromising music for me is a big deal.
All right, we'll get you the kit. Thank you, Gina. Do we have any online comments yet? All right. Any other questions or feedback for Liesl? Or anybody wants to say that, hi, I'm also ADHD and these things happen to me? Oh, please come to the mic. I'd love to hear it because as far as I know, she's crazy and I'm normal.
Well, I believe most people struggle with putting themselves out there in marketing. And one thing I've been struggling with too is that, but I think because I think we struggle because we want it to be perfect. And there's this idea that perfection would sell, but I believe people like the behind the scenes and the messy, the realness of it. So I think accepting that realness, that messiness, probably will help to draw more people in.
True.
When I talk to my business clients about, usually the conversation is, well, why aren't your action items done? I'm looking at a few of you. Why aren't your action items done? And that word perfect comes to mind. They don't think of it that way, but they're like, oh, I didn't get to it. It was a big project. I didn't have time. And I try to convince them that, did you know you could do this task in 5 minutes? Like, what are you talking about? Well, let's stop and do it right now. And as I walk them through it, because what happens is you see the action item and you're entrepreneurs. You started your own business. You gave up a paycheck to work for free at first.
I can't count the number of times I've heard you say perfection is the enemy of progress.
It is. But and in this case, we think about the task as so large that the perfect thing that it can be that we decide to not even start. And what I encourage people to do instead is just start. And if your task is well written, typically is like a SMART task. Have you heard of SMART goals? I'll go and spell it out for everybody else.
I've heard of fear paralysis.
Yeah, that's part of it. SMART goals.
Yeah.
It's an acronym, SMART. Specific, measurable, attainably high, relevant, and timed. We can go into that forever. But the idea is if your task is so specific, I want you to start the task and try to achieve the minimum passable standard. And that accomplishes two things for you. A, you actually get started, which means I think you'll get finished too. And B, because you are an overachiever as an entrepreneur, you'll probably do a bang-up job better than the minimum, but you never started, so you didn't. So keep it small, keep it minimal, and just get started. We have a question from Christina.
Yeah. My question is for you, Alan.
Oh,
When you talk about the marketing, like superhighway, and you talk about spending the time to build a lane, and then it just kind of goes on its own, I wonder how you feel social media works like this. Because for me, when I think of social media marketing, I think of something that's going to take a small amount of time to set up and a lot of time to maintain.
I see. This is a great question. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to go to break, and then we're going to turn it back to the audience to answer questions as well. This is the perfect setup for that. Thank you so much for asking that question. Because it really does take a village. I mean, part of the reasons I formed this talk show and our entrepreneur meetup third Thursdays at Tricksters is because I need this village as much as anybody else. So when we return, we're going to turn the tables, and we're going to let our audience, both here and online, ask questions, share stories that we can help with, or at least commiserate with. So yeah, that is hard. So prepare your questions now. Get ready. If you're online, go ahead and pop in the comments now while we're at commercial break, and we'll be ready to answer those when we come back. So see you in a minute.
Yeehaw.
Recruiting for managed service providers isn't like hiring for just any business, and that's why MSP Hire exists. We specialize in finding top-tier talent for MSPs through a thorough, multi-step screening process designed to save you time and frustration. Unlike other hiring services, we don't flood your inbox with endless resumes. Every candidate we present has been carefully vetted through multiple stages of evaluation. By the time they reach you, they're ready for your final interview, not a first glance. From IT technicians to account managers, we understand the roles that make MSPs tick, and we know how to find the right people to fill them. Stop wasting time on unqualified applicants and let MSP Hire deliver candidates who are ready to make an impact on your business. MSP Hire, helping MSPs find great people.
And we're back. I've always wanted to say that. All right, now it's time to tackle your questions, challenges, and ideas. Whether you're here in the room or online, let us know what's on your mind, and let's put our heads together. Now, Christina, before the break, you had asked a great question, which is that social media seems like I'm paraphrasing, seems like a bear that you can never wrestle down. And it can be. Liesl and I, we did rehearse a couple of times, and this came up in a different fake rehearsal we were doing, answering this question, so hopefully I'm prepared. First off, social media, you have no rights or ownership to it whatsoever. I don't think you should count on social media as being the be-all, end-all. That said, it's very powerful. So, one, I make my website my main source of truth. Whatever I want to sell, whatever form I want to procure, email, contact, sales pitch, sales form, I do that on my website. And then I use social media to drive people to my website. If you're building great content, like, again, you do hiking and guiding, another great picturesque thing to post. Instagram's a great one for that. But I would also put that on my website. Just start throwing photos up there in a gallery, start segmenting them into the things that you want, and the posts become easier. And if you're producing longer format content, one, we have short memories. Some people say we're down to goldfish levels of 7 seconds.
Awesome.
You can repost stuff from the past. They're not going to remember. If you're tracking your stats, how well posts did, you can sort those. And I love going back a full year and going, what were my top 10 posts from last year? And I use those again if they're still relevant or make them relevant. This video, when I do video content, there are AI tools that will automatically cut it and splice it into shorts. That workshop that I'm doing, every time I did a 10 to 12 minute video based on the content, it gave me 5 sentences of highlight reels that were 30 to 60 seconds each. That's a lot of content that was really easy to produce once the hard work was done. But I also encourage you to have a purpose behind your social media. In early days, sure, just get some activity, get some followers. But when you are trying to drive people to your website, either to do a transaction, submit a form, now you have a purpose. It becomes much easier to decide what to write. And when all else fails, use ChatGPT. And a quick note about ChatGPT. Lonnie and I, we didn't actually have this argument, but she said something and I ignored it for a moment. I put something in the ChatGPT because she asked me a question in producing the show. And she's like, I've already done that. And I'm like, putting something in the ChatGPT, it's not done, right? It's what you prompt, how you prompt it. I would be as descriptive as possible with a tool like ChatGPT, where you say, hey, I'm writing a social media post on this platform. I want to drive people to this website. I hope to get this type of conversion from it. And these are the keywords that I think people are looking for when they're doing it. And I want it to be X words long. Spend the time to write the prompt. I know it's a lot of work still, but I find it far easier to describe to somebody, it used to be her, I have ChatGPT now, what I'm trying to achieve, and then it spits back a reasonable answer, and usually it's just wrong enough, I know how to correct it. Kind of like a spouse. You know.
Oh, wow.
That wasn't a personal joke, that was just a universal truth.
Awesome.
Universal truth. I do the same thing when I'm facilitating meetings. I'll start writing down notes that I hear a room full of people arguing about. And then they'll all kind of send around like, no, I said this and that. Oh, good, now we're fixed. We can move on now. It's great. Christina, does that help at all? That was a very long, encompassing answer.
That was so
to
long.
social media. And I suffer the same exact thing. And I go through fits and starts. And I also have this other problem that I'm curious how many of you have. I have at least 10 different social circles on social media, right? And I assume that when I post something that's really for one of them, I'm offending the other 9. And I don't always know how to rectify that, right? If I tell somebody I went skiing, then I think my business clients think I'm goofing off or making too much money. If I tell people I'm doing business, my family's like, yeah, but how are you doing? If I tell somebody I'm enjoying a beer, then my grandmother's going to roll over, in her lazy boy chair watching the news. So I have that paralysis as well. TMI. All right. Other questions? There is no kind of. There only is.
Kind of related. I had 3 things pop through. Hi, everybody. I'm Colleen. Pleasure to
Colleen.
be here. Thank you, Erin. Just popping back, if we just drive backwards before the social media question, if
Great.
that's okay. Okay, we'll
Absolutely.
give you some content. This was just channeling through. You know how you're sort of a funny thing here? You're trying to remind yourself to do a time-lapse video.
Yes.
Okay. And we were speaking about authenticity, being ourselves, and to try to work through that, to choose to work through that. That's why I'm speaking here, all my thoughts. What if you did a video of you to yourself, talking a selfie video into the camera to remind yourself of this potential consideration of a time lapse. Talk kindly to your heart, and then you can flash that to yourself, and you can even post it on your social media. Say, hey guys, remind me. I'd love to be able to share my art in a sequence of events, but I keep forgetting to do the time lapse. And so I'm trying to make a content out of it.
I love the idea. It scares me a little bit. I like it.
You're on film right now.
Vulnerability is good. Yes.
We'll cut this piece out, zoom in on your face, and
I thrive on stage in some aspects, but this one's a little more awkward for sure. Making videos to myself, to my future self, it could be fun, but it could also be awkward. But awkward is good. So authenticity.
We're all brand.
We're all awkward, and we're all stretching ourselves.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
look
sure.
what you're doing today is amazing.
My husband is like the champion of awkward. He's wonderful.
If I can't be it, I cause it.
He thrives off of
Was
it.
that part 1 of 3?
That was a going back in time,
Okay.
and the continuation of the social media content and the making your website that which you own, your main source. I'm going through lots of transitions with in-person work to online program work, and my website's been around for a long time, and really look forward to it transitioning into a new direction as well. But my question is, in terms of social media, how do you make a decision? So an extension of what you just shared with us. How do you make a decision where to show up or how many platforms to have? Yes, I hear you. There are AI tools, but you're talking to the non-tech girl, right? Who anything around that, she has to learn each thing or farm it out, right? So I'm just saying in general, how would you make a decision based on your business or based on your life, based on what you're most drawn to? Like some platforms I find easier to work with, or maybe I'm more drawn to it. Maybe I'm more video, less writing. I don't care for writing as much, but I can speak it through.
Okay.
So any suggestions? That's a wide open question.
I wish Mateo was here. He was my fitness trainer for a while. It's just like gym exercise. Which exercise is best for me? It's the one that you do. So if you're not comfortable with anything but Facebook, use Facebook. Now, in the case of when I was talking to Sarah, was it a year and a half ago? I was like, you need to post to Reddit. And she was like, that sounds dumb. I don't like Reddit. I don't want to use Reddit. I am paraphrasing and I'm making this theatrical for stage, and she's in the audience and she'll call me out on it. But the idea was, there's so many places to post, why that one? And in our case, we had data, right? I had done this before. I had posted to Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and YouTube and Reddit, and we had most of our business from Reddit. And so Sarah took to doing that, and she didn't like it, having to do it, but she did the chore. And then lo and behold, a few months later, we start getting sales calls in from Reddit. And she's like, oh, it works. And then when you start tying in your mind that worked, therefore I don't mind doing it as much, and I want to learn more about it, that helps. But definitely at first, go with what you know. I mean, if you're doing 8 platforms and you need to consolidate to 4, then we can have a different conversation. Like, oh, LinkedIn's more for business, Instagram's more for visually appealing things, TikTok's where the youngsters are, which isn't as true as much as it used to be. What do you think, Liesl? You like social media.
What do I think?
What would you recommend?
I love what you just said about whatever you're comfortable with, do it. If videos are your jam and people relate to you through video content, that's the way to do it, absolutely. Especially in healing arts and as an intuitive, people want to look into your eyes and kind of see your countenance and relate to you that way.
And that word authenticity you used is a very powerful word in marketing and sales, and not just social media. The more you are yourself, the better you will do. I've been told, I hate being about self. I have been told I'm really good at authenticity, that I come off natural, and so people who have a need tend to buy from me because if they have the need, they trust me, even if I just met them an hour ago. Don't know why that is. Maybe it's how I met Liesl. I don't know. I mean, her kid invited me to the movie the next day, not her. I mean, then again, if they're under 6 or over 60, they love me.
It's true.
Sorry about your luck. So
I'm
use what you
fine.
know. If you already have some systems going, you can use some data or get some advice on what to cut back on. Because time is money, right? And time is energy if you're not into money. And you can only do so much. Why do I do videos? I chose this platform. I hate talking to a camera. Hate it. Hence, here you all are. I can make eye contact. I can glance at the camera. Hi, sorry, online folks. I'm better in person. That's what they said on Tinder, too. Oh, you're better than your profile photo. And that was awkward. So be authentic. Where was I going with this? I totally made an offhand comment.
Awkward and authentic.
Yeah, authentic.
Yeah.
Just
Done.
be you. I do this type of content because I know I'm better in person. So now I can deliver this to you live. I don't have to talk to a camera. I don't have to practice as much because I'm good at this. I'm not good at talking to a camera, so I don't do that as often. Interaction. Yes, yeah. Interaction, reading the room. Part of my intuitive self is seeing facial expressions and knowing what to say next or not to say next, and proceeding the wrong way anyway sometimes. Anything else to add?
Nope, what he said.
Any other questions or comments?
Ooh.
All right, Armin. Glad I ran into you last night and got you here.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. I think it's great. I have a comment that's going to will turn into a question. So one of the areas I've had success with is services that will post in multiple areas so that you can do one action and have impact in multiple areas. And also functions that I enjoyed using services that allowed me to schedule. So I could sit and do social media posts and maybe come up with a month of twice a week posts and have them scheduled and know that that's happening. And that takes some of the burden off, I need to do something today, which is often what that social media interaction can feel like, I find. Have you, so I liked that, and I usually use those for things that are sort of maybe consistent branding rather than a specific call to
Right.
to action, like there's a sale or a, an event or whatever. And then it allowed me to still some space to do. I could go above that, but it set a baseline that I knew that I could deliver. Have you used any services like that, or any strategies to ensure that you have that consistency that we all sort of intuitively know is important on social media? So that scheduling function is what I'm curious about.
So little known fact, I actually started and ran a social media company for a time. A couple of years before I decided that my original industry of IT, business consulting, was way more profitable. I use those tools religiously, and these days I hate those tools for a couple of reasons. One, most social media platforms now deprioritize those types of posts. There's been a lot of abuse, and so when they have an API call, which is the type of technology they use to connect to it in bulk with these scheduling apps, so that they tend to not perform as well, and many times they lock down some of the most powerful actions you can do. For example, most of them won't let you tag people in an automated post. Those tools like Hootsuite, Sprout Social I've used, Falcon.io, there's tons out there. So it felt like I was doing it for the sake of doing it, and I was having a really hard time finding my ROI. Or maybe I'm lazy. You guys can decide. In my newer ventures, what I've taken to doing instead is committing to a very minimal posting schedule. Maybe for my business, that's once a month, depending on my audience's appetite for content. Maybe it's once a week, and I'm trying to make it real, authentic content instead, especially if I can collaborate. Because especially all my businesses are relatively new these days. I'm trying to grow my audience. So like even the show, when I was promoting it, Trickster's Hideout posted about the show, right? And then I personally shared it, and I tagged my business EPI Consulting, and then I had EPI Consulting share that, and I tagged, thanks to our sponsor MSP Hire. And then MSP Hire posted it and tagged some other folks to grow and cross-pollinate that. And you cannot schedule that. I take that back. You cannot automate that. I believe if you do it in the platform itself, you can use the scheduling feature to do those things. So if you have an idea ahead of time, great, use that. And I am not the normal thinker here in these ways. Like, best time to post. When you post. When you're feeling motivated to post, I'd rather get it out there than game the system. Now, if you're doing all this authentic stuff and it's going well and you have more time to spend on gaming the algorithm and trying to get your post up there and get more eyeballs, go for it. But I feel like it's a law of diminishing returns. Do you guys know what the algorithm's trying to do? The algorithm is trying to find authentic content to deliver to people who want it. But because people keep gaming it, they have to keep changing the algorithm to try to find that authentic content to mean what it actually says. And it's just a tug of war, just like people writing viruses and antivirus. It is always that tug of war. They're always one step ahead, and there's everybody trying to exploit it. So I think if you stick to your authentic self, have a limited minimum commitment schedule of how many posts you want to do, how often for your audience, I think you'll get pretty far ahead.
Wow. Why'd they have to go and make things so complicated?
Because Avril Lavigne said so. Later I'm going to play this back and it's like, is that the right artist? Did I get the right song?
It is.
Do I have fact checkers in the audience? Any other questions or comments? Thank you again, Armin, for that one. Actually, did I answer the question?
It was more like instigating a conversation on, so yes.
Oh, what a politician. Instigator. Yeah, short personal story. I almost remember it to the day. I think I was 10, and I was riding in my mom's car, as a 10-year-old does, through Fort Stewart, and there was these giant water treatment plants, and they were open-topped, and there was this thing stirring around. And my mom looks at me and goes, This is what you are. And I'm thinking, there is shit in there. And she's like, an instigator, a stirrer of shit.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh. And I don't know why. It's one of those imprintable things. It's a positive memory, by the way. Positive
But
memory.
it gets a mental picture
Yeah,
every time he
every
says
time
the
I
word.
hear the word instigate, that's exactly what I think of every dang time.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
censored myself. Good job, Alan. Any other questions or comments or stories? Come on up, Aaron. You're the next contestant.
Hi, Liesl. You were talking about challenges with marketing, and I'm curious to understand, because I think that thing of I have to sell my services, it can feel awkward, and curious to go back to your why. Like, why is it that you paint? What is it that you offer? Kind of the why factor. Maybe that would help you
Yeah.
dive into the.
That's a really thought-provoking question. I guess I'm a creative problem solver. I like to help people. I am very service-oriented. Service is my love language. Like 99% service, my love language, and everything else is sharing the other 1%. And because of that, I think when somebody has a need or expresses a creative desire, I just jump in. I want to do it. So yeah, that's a good point, to acknowledge my why and make sure that I am igniting my passion before I do the laborious work of marketing.
So I wonder if you could tie this in, if it helps you think through this. So wintertime is slower for painters, no outside work, and people are inside enjoying their home. They don't want to tear it apart for painting. So she had a couple of days between jobs this week, and she designed the entire tiki room in the back of Trickster's. No one asked her to. We didn't have a need. Nothing was broken. She just did it. Why?
Because I found a palm tree. I found a palm tree. It was in somebody's kitchen at a job site, and I was like, where did you get that? And he won it in 1994. He won it at Save On Foods with his Save On points. And then he sold it to me. And then I was like, I think I need to build a tiki room. And then I locked myself in a room for 3 days. And I mean, you'll have to come and judge for yourself whether it was fruitious or not. But
I think when people see that type of authenticity, that I just like doing this. I've been doing EPI consulting as a pro bono sliding scale consultancy in Squamish for the last 2 years while running my full-time gigs at Eureka Process and Givzenta. And now that I'm not doing that full-time, this is my job, but this is what I love to do, and that's what has to shine through. You're not selling. You're educating, you're solving problems. In fact, here's a trick question every business consultant's ever asked me. You can call this out loud, answer the question, and see how many words we get. What is the purpose of all business?
to fill a need.
Well, you cheated. How many of you were going to say money? Just me? I mean, I know better now, but the first time I had a business consultant, he was like, how many of you? And I was like, money. And all of us. That's why we do it. I can do it better. I can make more money. The man's not getting their cut. But Liesel's right. She's heard me consult a few times.
If money didn't exist, we'd still have needs and
Yeah.
need to help each other. So
And the purpose of all
Yeah.
business is to fill a need. And if you're going to do that, you're going to do it well, authentically, because you're passionate about it. You found your why. Money will be the byproduct, just because it's necessary for our society to change hands to show value. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, stories to share? All right, so something to keep in the back of your head is I need a guest for next month. I'm not ready for online guests yet. Maybe we'll get there one day and have that segment as well.
yeah.
Let's see, what's next on my script? All right, I'm supposed to say, that was great. Thank you all for sharing. We're going to do one final word from a sponsor, and then we'll be right back. water. It's water. It's not vodka. We're at a bar. Thank you all for being part of tonight's episode of the Entrepreneurs Hideout. I hope you like the name. I love productive criticism. So if you have something to help me improve, I'm glad to hear it in person, written on a napkin and shoved somewhere in a corner when I find it later. Post your comments online. That would all be great. I'm glad to have it. This is our first time, and I'm sure we can get better. We've had some amazing insights, powerful collaboration, and plenty of fun, at least some laughs. Thank you all so much for participating. A big thank you to our guest, Liesl Peterson. Give it up.
Thank you.
Our incredible live audience, clap for yourselves. And everyone watching from home, the car, not while you're driving. Or maybe top of the chief. Somebody could be watching. It's possible. That'd be fun. Don't forget to join us for karaoke here at Trickster's Hideout starting at 7 p.m. So that's just in a few minutes. And it'll also be every Thursday at 7 p.m. And karaoke is quite taken off here lately.
Yeah, it's good fun.
And we're going to see you live here once again for every fourth Thursday. I had to write this down. This is hard to say. Every fourth Thursday of every month for the Entrepreneurs Hideout. Stay curious, stay collaborative, and let's make it epic. Good night, everyone.